Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the G I Joe Parasite. This is another one of the Cobra vehicles that was given to us by Hasbro. It was released in 1992 and unfortunately was discontinued in 1993. One of the nice big things about this is it's an armored personnel carrier that can transport up to 17 figures. Looking at what we have here on yojo.com, if I can get my mouse to work here, the nice pictures that they're always supplying us, which is why we always start here. We do see a nice crew compartment inside here. Um, Externally, we don't see a lot of spots for a crew. We have a gunner station. Actually, it's a multiple gunner stations in a lot of regards. Uh, and of course, we have kind of a new feature. We have a mine catapult. So, keep in the mine catapult roughly about the same range as most of our cannons, but now we're going to have essentially landmines at speeder scale, is the way I had put them in there. And of course, we have a rear gun here. Uh, I'm figuring somewhere in here we're going to have some sort of gunner sitting there instead of whatever, unless the person's inside, seeing that there is a kind of spot for someone to look out here. The other thing that's kind of mentioned here, let's see, we have bonfire and catapult, which is on top, can carry up to 17 people. In the schematics, it was talking about the fact that it can actually do an auto drive feature if it needed to. So I'm going to say that we're going to have a driver in here somewhere. And on the other hand, if we needed it to, we do have a self driving function. Now, this is going to be an early self driving function. Um, so I do have stats for that, keeping it at a more moderate pace, not a very good driving function, but still at a decent pace here. So, going through all of our schematics, of course, we have our front lower cannons. We have a dual set of those. We do have our cannons, which is self-manned up here as well. We have our rounds for our landmines and our rear cannon here, as well as the hatch to open, so that way we can get all of our personnel in there. And our schematics for trying to put everything all together when you first get this and back around. There's no variations known to exist according to yojo.com. And unfortunately, the last thing that we always like to bring up is what was the price for this? And we don't have that listed here. So it's kind of a sad missing point because it's always fun to see how much this stuff had cost way back when. So with that, let's get on over to our D6 stats and go from there. So looking at our stats here, the Parasite is going to be at speeder scale. We have this sitting roughly about 35 feet long. I figure with all the cannons that we have here and the crew capacity that we're talking about, we're going to need a longer vehicle. I do have a crew of two. Figured that we're definitely going to have a front driver as well as a front gunner. Now, everyone else that's in there is going to be able to pick up a cannon of some sort. Now, I will put this out here. When we look at the picture that I have here from yojo.com, it looks like the top cannons and the bottom cannons are kind of synced together to have a nice play feature. Now, I have them individually listed, so just please do keep that in mind if you happen to have one of these sets. I do have them listed separately, so that way, just figuring that if you have someone else as a extra gunner in there, that they could actually move that to somewhere else. They're sitting at different positions, so I figured that would give it a wider firing arc to be able to take on more opponents at one time. All right, so listed is a crew of two. That's what I kind of kept it at, just keeping it minimum. Passengers, we have 15 between, and that goes from between being inside as well as standing on all the platforms going around. We can see easily four spots on each side, so there's an extra 8, and I think we had an extra 4 on the back. So there's 12 personnel right there, with 4, say, like, high value riders, say like maybe Cobra Commander, Destro, Baroness, someone like that you really want to keep kind of safe. And they may be our extra gunners in that as well. All right. I gave it a higher cargo capacity here, figuring that we have a vehicle, we're carrying the extra landmines and everything else. That would probably uh, give us a little extra carrying capacity, especially with extra gear and everything else. Of course, I gave it the full coverage. This is ground ground base, so no altitude. Maneuverability, keeping it at a 2D plus 1, kind of a holdover from where I had grabbed this from whatever else. We have a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit here. I think with Cobra being a fast attack, just trying to get in, cause as much mayhem as they can, it might be able to go about 50 miles an hour. Body strength, I have this up to a 4D, keeping it somewhat resilient. Now here comes all of our fun weapons, which isn't a huge list, but we have our dual blaster cannons, which are the lower ones in the front, speeder scale, front facing. Fire controls 2D. Damage is our 6D, starting it off at our base of 5D, and they're fire linked together. Then we have our bomb catapult. Now I have this at speeder scale. Like I said, the range here is that of our regular, laser cannons. I don't know how far out you're really going to be able to shoot a catapult. Uh, so I'm in some regards, I feel like I'm being a little on the generous side, but we'll just kind of leave it at that. It's doing 7D damage, holdover from our missile launchers, per mine. I forgot to change that. All right. And it's, 7D, 5 rounds of ammo. Now I see that we have a spot. We only have 2 here, but it did show 3. 1 there. I figured they might have an extra one stored on the side or something like that, so we'll just kind of give it a 5. We have our quad blaster cannon, which is that top-mounted cannon that we had on the front. And in one of the pictures, they had Destro sitting in there. Fire controls 2D. That's 8D damage at speed or scale. Because we have 4 of them together, all fire length, that's going to be a little bit of hurt. Then we have anti-personnel cannon, which is our machine gun in the back. That's at personnel scale. Fire control is 2D, and damage is 6D. Now, like I said, we have a self-driving feature when needed. So if you have a driver, you can use the driver and their skills. But when you don't have a driver, then we can do a self-driving feature at a 3D. So that would actually kind of help keep this going as well. So in those regards, it's nice because every time that Cobra needs to retreat or whatever else, if they're away from it, they can always call it. I don't know if you would want to do like a call button feature, kind of like a car remote or whatever. Say, hey, drive towards me and pick me up, kind of deal. Or how you would really like to work that if you want to give it some sort of an AI. I'll leave that up to you, the player, and the DM, trying to figure that out. But it does add a nice little feature. You can have it drive itself instead of needing someone there. So you can maybe even just man the cannons while it's doing the driving and going from that point on. With that, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. Hope you're having a nice day, and I will see you in the next video.